Okay, welcome back. And tonight we are going to do the sixth commandment. So, Renee, welcome. And we have been working down. There's some logic to that somewhere. So we did do not covet. Evelyn and Violetta, what is the core value of do not covet?
This is a quiz.
Yep,
Not
yep.
covet
It's,
is
I would say integrity.
Law Tachmod. Do you remember?
Oh, do not covet. Oh, okay.
to be grateful with your lot.
Yes, right. To be
I was thinking of the other one. I wasn't thinking of that
okay.
one.
Okay. What's the core value of do not be a false witness?
Integrity, not stealing people's reputation and being truthful.
Good, being truthful. Do not steal, number 8.
Yes, do I remember?
Respect the property of others. That it doesn't belong to you.
Good. No adultery.
Oh,
We talked about covenant, the marriage covenant,
Right.
and we talked about other relationships.
And loyalty.
Loyalty, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So we're doing tonight, actually, do not murder, which you would think is the most basic of all of them. And as we will see, of course, there is a basic level to it. But there's also a very, I think, expansive level, which many people don't think about when they see the words do not murder. And that's part of our way of understanding it. I think really is very powerful. I'm going to share my screen. We use some very beautifully designed workbooks. Here we go. Okay, do not murder, nurture life. Okay, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. Can everyone see there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
my favorite.
You like Rabbi Sachs?
I love his wisdom, and may he rest
Okay.
in Gan Eden.
So actually,
left a
he
legacy
didn't write
of
he didn't
knowledge
write
and
this
wisdom.
anywhere. He didn't write this anywhere. This is from a speech he gave. Okay, who wants to read?
I'll read it.
Okay.
When I first stood at Auschwitz-Birkenau, the question that
Oh.
haunted...
There is Lieber.
Hi, Lieber.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Lieber.
Sorry to come late.
Okay, no problem. Meet Renee. Renee, meet Lieber.
Hello.
Okay, we are starting tonight with Do Not Murder.
Great.
Okay, and we haven't really started, so you're just in time. Perfect. Okay, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs.
When I first stood at Auschwitz-Birkenau, the question that haunted me was not, where was God? God was in the command, you shall not murder. God was in the words, you shall not oppress the stranger. God was saying to humanity, your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. God did not stop the first humans eating forbidden fruit. He did not stop Cain committing murder. He did not stop the Egyptians enslaving the Israelites. God does not save us from ourselves. That, according to the Talmud, is why creating man is such a risk, that the angels advised against it. They were smart. The question that haunts me after the Holocaust, as it does today in the new age of chaos, is where is man? Introduction, the value of life. Life is the most basic right we have.
Just hang on. Sorry, Evelyn. Has anyone here been to a concentration camp?
No.
Really?
Oh, I think I've been to the Theresienstadt, actually.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I have been.
okay. Only
I've
Lieber,
been
where
to
did you go?
deportation site.
I went to Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Majdanek.
Wow.
Wow.
Was that on like March of the Living or something?
Yeah, except with Beth Tefillah when I was a senior in high school.
Uh-huh. Okay. Do you remember your thoughts?
I mean, it was, like 30 years ago, so it was
Ask your age.
definitely a long time ago, but it was very intense. My grandmother is a survivor and was in Auschwitz for 13 months. She was from Romania, so they were invaded the last year of the war, and it was eerie, walking under the same gates and through the same space that so many people were murdered, and
Mhm.
it was, part of it was eerie, and then part of it was sterile at the same time. It's hard to like really describe it. And each camp had kind of a different feeling. Like Treblinka is mostly sculptures and grass is growing and doesn't have really remnants of the camp at all. It was yeah, it was very moving to be
Did,
standing in the spot.
did you know your grandmother? Is your
Yeah,
grandmother?
my bubby was with us until about 10 years ago. She lived into her 90s. She was really the matriarch of our family. Yeah.
Wow, that's really, I've never actually spoken to someone that had been like, you walked through there and you were like, wow, Bobby was here.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about life, right?
Yeah.
Gives us perspective, however shocking it is. Okay, Evelyn, you want to continue?
Sure, the value of life. Life is the most basic right we have. Where does this right come from? What is included in it? Text, source, Declaration of Independence. Okay, that's a real Jewish text. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Okay,
Conversation.
so
What
I
is
don't
it?
want to spend too much time on this because we could spend all of it and not get into the Torah, which, as you pointed out, this is, there's a lot of study about the founding fathers and their biblical roots. It didn't, it's an inalienable right from God, and we'll see something like that. Okay, let's,
What is included? Oh, you don't want to do the questions. Okay.
no, not tonight.
Okay.
Okay, let's go into okay. So just to Renee, what we do, the thing about the Ten Commandments they are not commandments. They are super commandments. So a commandment is a mitzvah. That's very specific, has its rules and regulations. A diber, as they're called, the Serete Dibrot, a diber is expansive. It includes underlying principles and values for which to create a frame for living. So, but when we call the Peshat, the literal understanding, we're really talking about the mitzvah. What does the mitzvah include? Okay, who wants to read?
I'll read.
Okay,
From the intro or from the text?
yeah, from the introduction.
The literal understanding. Pshat. Murder is killing another person unjustly.
I'm
It
going
is
to stop you there. What's the most important word in that sentence?
unjustly.
Thank you. Continue. Okay. There are so many people, so often I'm teaching, and, people, especially because of the war and, our sympathetic Jewish heart, is like, how can we be, do not murder, and how can we be doing this? And I'm like, no. You don't get it. Murder, the definition of murder is killing another person unjustly. If someone comes to kill you, in fact, there's a mitzvah. You're doing a mitzvah to protect your life and the lives of others,
Yep.
right? So murder and killing are not the same thing. Interestingly enough, King James Version of the Bible says, do not kill.
Mm.
Okay, and this has led to some, Christian theologians being very extreme in their opinion about ever killing a person, because it says do not kill, which is a blanket, but that is not our tradition. Okay.
It is one of 3 sins for which we should die rather than transgress, even under duress. There are different rules for intentional and unintentional murder. In biblical times, an intentional murderer was sentenced to death, and an unintentional murderer was sentenced to a city of refuge until the death of the high priest. How do you have unintentional
Oh,
murder?
that you didn't intend to kill the person, but you are negligent in your behavior.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I would, the modern case of someone's on their phone while driving and kill someone, I'm not sure what the
Like
technical
manslaughter.
manslaughter. It's really manslaughter, unintentional murder.
Right. Okay.
Rabbi Nitzan,
Yes.
I'm thinking about the terrible tragedy of the soldiers firing at the hostages, thinking they were terrorists. So how could we frame it? Unintentional,
Yeah. The Talmud has a lot of discussion about the different levels. That's an excellent question. I've not thought deeply about that. Whether that would have been considered even unintentional murder. It might be that it was even less than that because they really thought these were terrorists. So, and I'm not sure they could have thought differently.
exactly, because their lives were on the line if they fired at them.
Yeah, very unfortunate. So
I think the punishment to the soldiers that shot, living all their lives with the guilt.
probably, although I think the families were very gracious in extending to them, like, you did what you had to do.
They were posed by, they were posed there on purpose by our enemies.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So the word in Hebrew is lo tirtzach. Lo tirtzach. Ritzicha is murder. Okay.
Okay. Source 1 is from Exodus, Deuteronomy, you shall not murder. Lo tirtzach. Source 2. Ibn Ezra in Exodus says, do not murder with your hand or with your tongue by testifying falsely to kill him or through slander or by intentionally giving someone bad advice that you know will land up killing them. If you know a secret which could save him from murder and you don't reveal it, you are like a murderer. Okay.
So the Ibn Ezra he's a little expansive. I don't have anything to do with murder. Okay, let's look at some of these questions. Is suicide murder?
In Jewish, as far as I understand Jewish law, yes.
There's a little bit of discussion about it. Most opinions are yes, of course it's murder. What about euthanasia?
I think that's also considered murder, isn't it, in Jewish law?
In Jewish law is very strict about not causing someone to die. Right? You can. There are times where at end of life, we're not going to do things to extend life, but that doesn't mean we can do things to shorten life. And euthanasia means you're actively shortening life. Okay, have we as a society become less sensitive to the devastation of murder here in America? And I guess in the world?
Yes, look at the guns. I mean, people carry guns all the time. So yes, I think we definitely have.
What could be done to lessen the high murder rate in the US?
Gun control,
Okay.
for one thing.
Do you
Mental health services for another thing.
Do you consider selling dangerous substances murder?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trafficking.
The whole fentanyl thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a tough question about that.
Does our litigious society and identity politics protect or inhibit our ability to bring about justice specifically for murder and generally. I don't know if that's the question. I think what Renee mentioned earlier is the belief about human free will and responsibility and acquitting people. So I think it's an interesting question. To what degree does Judaism hold people responsible for their actions?
Absolutely, yes.
You would want to say yes, right? So when doesn't it? When are people considered acting under duress in a way that they are not liable? Okay.
Rabbi Nitzan, I just wanted to mention briefly that these days there's tremendous change in the laws with the maid.
Yes,
Maid
that's
actually, I think
the assisted insistence to people dying. I want to push back on
and
that.
I
We have
wonder what
time.
how Judaism is going to handle that one.
Well, like assisted death?
Yes, yes.
Like under euthanasia, it's not simple under Jewish law.
Yeah.
I think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to handle it very well.
I would agree. So the problem that I see is that when these laws were made, people died young and they didn't live with suffering and all the health that we can provide them, which doesn't necessarily give them any quality of life. And so I think, it's a slippery slope, but I would push back on it's definitely it. Because again, free will, whose life is it?
Well, that's a good question. If suicide is murder, whose life is it?
Yeah, and if you're suffering, what's the point?
No, I'm going the other way and saying if suicide is murder,
Yeah.
it really means actually there are many opinions that within Jewish rabbinic thinking that it's not really your life to take, right? That's the story.
Can you explain that a teeny bit?
Sorry?
It's not your life, so tell me about that just for a minute.
It's not your decision to take your life. You're doing a sin. If you commit suicide, you're doing a sin.
Yep.
Well, if it was if you have something that's yours, your apple, you can eat it. You're not doing a sin. It's yours to do what you want with it. So there is this limitation on, hang on a second. God's put you here and he'll take you when he's ready. That's the general sentiment.
I like to add a quick comment on that. I studied crucial decisions with the Chabad movement, and we, of course, it's all in agreement always about preserving life at all costs. But there was also a focus on is there any hope that this person can get better? Is there any hope that this life could be saved? Because the degree of suffering is such.
Right.
And in some cases, there are exceptions.
Yeah, there are exceptions to not trying to resuscitate the person.
Okay, but not to cause the death.
But that's
right.
There's passive and then there's active.
You're right.
There's very little space for active killing. Even if it's merciful.
I was always curious about the story of like Masada and why we were like, we still like build up the story of the mass. Like, is that, I don't know Talmud so well. So are there certain times you're actually like encouraged to bravely like, kill yourselves, jump off the mountain rather than submit to being killed by your enemy or submit to your things your enemy are going to make you do? Like I always thought it was
right. So you're right on point. There definitely is discussion, and not everyone is, like, wow, that was a great decision. There does seem to be some precedent for it. For example, we said, what does it mean you should rather give up your life than murder? So that means someone puts a gun to your head and says, listen, you kill that person or we'll kill you. So what do? So you're meant to take the bullet and say, no, I'm not going to
Kill that
Kill.
person.
I'm not going to murder them. You murder me. And another case is idolatry. So if someone says, bow down to the idol or I will kill you, you're actually meant to take the bullet, right? Even though it's under duress. And that one's harder to understand because you don't even believe in it. It's just an act, So it could be that, if they felt that they would be forced into idolatrous practices, that they would, they were better off just taking their life at the, before they got there. That would have been the thinking, Another one is adultery, by the way. Another one is adultery. There's I don't know if it's obviously not that well known. I don't think we all know that. I'm not sure. I know the story, but there was a bunch of Beis Yaakov girls, I think during the Holocaust, who were on a boat, and they were dead meat to the Germans, and they jumped overboard, and they died at sea. So
Ooh, that's a bummer.
they were praised. They were praised for their Kiddush Hashem, that they, instead of allowing themselves to be raped by the Germans, they did this. So sometimes there are these, rather crazy cases where, yeah, maybe that is better. But yeah, good for you for asking, right? Because it's like a Jewish. I mean, the truth is, I think that the respect they have or whatever is just the tenacity they had in standing up to the Romans. I'm not sure that the suicide in the end is such a focused on element of the story, but it's it's definitely there. And what to
I
question?
guess that's the piece I always remembered.
Yeah, no, it's good. It is the question. Yeah,
Right.
because
Great
if we're
example.
wrong,
That's a great example. It really is.
Rabbi Nitzan,
yeah.
what about knowing that they would be subjected to torture?
Mhm.
Or
don't think so.
do inquiry to treason their own people?
Yeah, that could be if a person, that for sure could be, because then, yeah. So they normally, even though we say that if it's your life or another person's life, as long as you're not murdering them, your life comes first. So that's a famous bit of the Talmud that says two people are walking in the desert, and only one of them has a jug of water. And it's enough water for one of them to survive, not two. So one opinion is you should divide it and both die. You can't, how can you drink the water and watch your friend die? But Rabbi Akiva says, no, your life comes first. And that is, that's an interesting and important rule, that your life comes first. However, that's when it's like one-on-one. But let's say, it's your life and a whole community, right? They're trying to get information from you to kill a whole community. So then you definitely can give up your life, right? If it's okay, let's see where this comes from.
Am I still reading, or you want somebody else?
Okay, someone else.
I can. Renee, would you like to read?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Where am I going to? Genesis?
Introduction.
In the image of God? Okay.
Yep.
Yesod, the underlying principle, in the image of God, we may not murder because each human being has intrinsic dignity, worth of honor and respect. This dignity comes from humanity being made in God's image, capable of acting in godly ways. It gives us the ability to make conscious free will decisions, to be just, truthful, and peaceful, to show love, compassion, and mercy, to make the world a better place. Being made in God's image means having the potential to live elevated lives and make a positive impact on the world. Should I continue or?
Yeah.
The Diber, do not murder, demands that we take utmost care not to endanger or diminish any human life, including our own.
That's a big one, not to diminish. Wow. I mean, it's important, but it's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean, diminish? I have a real question about a relative of mine that survived the Shoah in a very unique way. But what does diminish any human life specifically? Is it in any way make it possible that the human life could be ended by an act, or? In danger.
What was that? What was the story?
It's a very powerful story. It's about potential murder not really. It's about a father saving his son's life. So I have a first cousin once removed who's 90. And they were, after a few years of trying to escape the Nazis, they ended up on a train to Auschwitz. And my cousin was about 7, 8 years old. And his father, who was my mother's uncle, he must have smuggled some tool or something into this cattle car packed with people. And his father managed to push through some window. And as the train is moving, there were 2 adults, another cousin and my young 7-year-old cousin. And he pushed his son out the window into the ice as the train is moving, at enough of a pace that one of the adults hit his head on a pole and died. But the little boy, my cousin, whose story is in the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, his testimony, he survived. He was separated from his father by miles. Both of them were injured, but he could have killed his son, my cousin Herman, easily in his act, as this was a last-ditch act. Mm-hmm. The whole entire rest of the family, their portraits are hanging on the walls of a museum in Belgium. They all were murdered in Auschwitz. So they wiped out a big part of the Meyerowitz family. But he could have murdered his son doing this, yes?
Yeah. So that's a very extreme case. This comes up all the time for doctors, by the way, right? Can a doctor do sometimes there's an operation which has a certain percentage chance of saving someone's life and a certain percentage chance of ending their life.
Yeah, like a brain tumor would be an example.
Yeah, that the person, people die on operating floors still, So that's that's a very complicated decision. I'm not about to make it. Obviously, in retrospect, he did the right thing, right?
He did.
Yeah. But how do you know at the time?
So it's more, to me, I say that more is murder, but it's taking a huge risk. It could have turned out badly, but he tried. If he hadn't tried, the result would have been obvious.
Right.
He certainly endangered his son's life, but what did he have? He was pretty sure that if they got to Auschwitz, they'd be murdered. Yeah. There was a very high chance they'd be murdered like the rest of the family. So anyway, I don't know.
Sometimes the options really stink, and it worked out. Life is so complicated. It really is.
Okay, let's see this. So
Rabbi Nitzan, I don't want to interrupt because I know it's a flow of the class and the time is limited, but I have a burning question in my head. You just tell me when about it's applicable to what's happening now in Israel. about murder. But anyways, we'll see if at the end I can bring it up or
Okay.
whenever you tell me.
Okay, save it for the end. Let's see. Okay. Renee, why? Okay, let me just give you context over here. It's very interesting. When Noah is coming out of the ark, God says to him, you know, until now, actually, people were not allowed to kill animals. From Adam until Noah, for 10 generations, people did not kill animals.
Hmm.
They were vegetarians. But after the flood, God gives Noah the permission to kill animals and use them for his needs, for food and for other needs. So then, you know, giving him permission to kill the animals, he warns him about killing people, you know, murdering people, because, and that's this verse. It's a very beautiful verse. Go on, Renee.
Oh, Genesis, God explains to Noah as he's about to leave the ark, whoever sheds the blood of man in man, shall his blood be shed. For in his image did God make man.
Okay, so in the Hebrew, it's there's a word for it. I always forget it. Like the words read back to front, not only the letters. Shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam damo yishafech. Right? Shafach, dam, adam.
Huh.
The man spills the blood, right? And maybe there's a hint to the law of reciprocity, right? If you murder, well, you should be killed, right? What you do to others should be done to you. Now, the reason why this verse is here is because B'Tselem Elokim asa et Adam, because in the image of God, man was made, and that really, going back to the declaration, is really what they came from. Like, that's the inalienable right of every human being. Is, oh, they're in the image of God. Okay, what does it mean to be in the image of God? When you think of that term, what does it mean to you? How does it entitle one to life? I think we discussed that. Are any other creatures created in the image of God?
No, only humans.
So the Sforno says angels. Angels have a part of the image of God, right?
But we don't know them, or we can think of them.
I love it.
They haven't been introduced to us.
Really?
Well,
I got 4 on my screen right now. Okay.
Angels are people. Sometimes angels are people that come to us telling us something that
Yeah. There are many stories that many of the commentaries say. You know, when Joseph goes to find his brothers, he meets a man and he says, "Where are my brothers?" And he says, you know, they're over there. He points them in the right direction. And I don't know where the commentaries get it from. They say that was, I think, Gabriel. That was the angel. Okay. Any comments on what it means to be in the image of God? What connotation does that have for you?
well, imitating God. The concept is quite profound. It's not like looking like God, but we focus on his 13 qualities, and then every time we act, we may be violating any of his qualities. So we have to act in his image. What would God do if I was in this situation?
Right, it was right. So it's a very lofty concept, you know, to believe that.
Yeah.
And yet, when, you know, if you've ever been around when a child is being born, and
I think most of us females have been.
I'm not asking personal questions, Evelyn. But
It's not a fun experience.
I know, but when you hold that baby, there is something so magical about that new life, which
Are you sure? I think it's different for every child in every experience.
No,
Really?
it's a
Okay,
miracle. It's a miracle of life.
as a father and a grandfather, I can say that the miracle, yeah. And there's something about human life, I think, too. All life is precious, but human life even more precious. Okay, this is what I want to get into. Okay, we're gonna actually we're running way too late here to do everything. This next section is nurturing life, and it's really it speaks about the fact that at Sinai, when the people heard the negative, they turned it into a positive. So if it's do not murder, what's the opposite? What's the positive?
Nurture life.
Right? And
Take
we
care of
nurture
life.
life. And this starts, if we think on the physical level, it starts with health and security. So actually Rambam, Maimonides, he wrote a lot about it. Ravenous eating is not good for you. Overeating, he wrote about any it's a positive mitzvah to remove any obstacle that could pose a danger to life, and to be careful regarding these matters, right? To make sure that we are healthy and safe is very important.
All good. All good. You know, I always object, but this is all good.
Okay, very good. We're doing well. Okay, I'm jumping this. Okay, because I want to get to this section. Okay, who wants to read?
I can read.
Okay.
Is it the Talmud Bava Metzia?
No, we'll start with the introduction, please.
Oh, introduction. When we think about murder, we normally confine our thinking to the physical. However, we find throughout the Torah and Talmud that life, having the means and ability to live in a fully functional way, goes beyond the physical. To be alive also means having the means and ability to live in a fully functioning social environment.
Okay, I need to ask the graphic designer to edit this. Obviously, not everyone, what's fully functioning for one person is not necessarily fully functioning for another. So I need to add the phrase in here, when we speak about living a full life, to the degree that each person can, right? We're all made different, and everyone, right? So, but I think it's true for all levels. So for some people, to give them as best a physical life as possible does not mean what we think as a fully physical, healthy person. They might have real challenges for that, and so
But
too
it sounds like it
emotionally.
puts a floor. It sounds like it puts a floor on, which again, I think is an excellent idea. Everybody's entitled to a certain amount of, which is a really, really good idea. It's very human.
There's a certain amount that you would like a bottom level that you would expect for most people. What I'm trying to get to is not people with challenges and people.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's go into the emotional aspect of life.
Mm-hmm. Talmud Bava Metzia 58b. Etana taught before Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Anyone who humiliates another in public is as though he spilled blood. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak said to him, "You have spoken well, as we see that after the humiliated person blushes, the red leaves his face and white comes in its place."
That someone is pale from embarrassment. But the point that I want to get to is that, it's anyone who humiliates another in public is as if they spilled blood. This sensitivity to, hang on a second, that is not just the fact that we're physically alive doesn't mean we're fully alive, right? Our emotional well-being definitely full part of the understanding of life that our tradition has.
We spoke about this last time with the last one. It's very related. So Judaism wants respect for people. and doesn't want them to be put down or humiliated, which is, again, good stuff. Good stuff.
Very important. Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to share
Okay.
something. I was watching a movie last night. It's a good film. It's called And She Said, and it has to do with a true story about a case of rape. And he was, and then one of the women said she was raped when she was very young. And she said, crying, that after what happened to her, they murdered her innocence. They murdered
Mm.
her her trust in others. Like her world was shattered. Something died in her at that moment.
That's a real beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly what this is saying. Is that, there's almost the capacity or thing that could be, it could be so painful that it cuts it off from a person. Okay, that's better than any conversation I would have. Okay, next level. I like this one too. Who wants to read?
Besides being physical and emotional, we are also intellectual beings that need intellectual nurturing, making sure of means and ability to live a fully functioning intellectual life. This is part of the nurturing of life to which we are called by this diber. And again, this is very Jewish. I don't think you get this in other traditions very much. Text, source 1, Talmud Ta'anit 23a. Rava said that's what people say, either a chavruta, study partner, or death.
Okay, so once again, the use of the language is important here, right? So it's beautiful in the Aramaic. Or chavruta or mituta. It rhymes.
That's great.
Okay, let's go on.
Source 2, Talmud Baba Batra 21a. Truly that man is remembered for the good, and his name is Yehoshua ben Gamla. If not for him, the Torah would have been forgotten from the Jewish people. Initially, whoever had a father would have his father teach him Torah, and whoever did not have a father would not learn Torah at all. Yehoshua ben Gamla came and instituted an ordinance that teachers of children should be established in each and every province and in each and every town.
Okay, so yes, we
Jewish
know that.
emphasis on literacy and learning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now, granted, it was male literacy,
This is true.
but that, yeah, I have a friend who's a bit of a rocket scientist, and his theory about why Jews do well when they are given the opportunity is because we have this ancient tradition of literacy, and maybe that in itself did something genetic. There's a genetic almost evolution in that. That we are the people of the book. Okay, Hillel.
Hillel would say, one who does not increase knowledge ceases.
Okay,
The law must.
Wow, this is so
Yes.
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
right. The law mosif yasef. It also play on words.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, the law
Add
mosif yasef.
or take away.
Yeah.
And by the way, Nitzan, you're teaching all women right now. So look how far we've come.
Yeah, look at that. I like that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, I am a big believer of that, by the way. Okay, so we spoke about the physical, being healthy and safe. We spoke about the emotional, right? And I think there's a lot of work that we can do internally, right, to be emotionally healthy. It's not just the Torah does this. It focuses us, our concentric circles of life, the arrows are pointing outwards, right? We're meant to be concerned with others. Our obligations towards others is the focus of the Torah. It's not inner focused in the sense of like it's about me and my well-being. But there is a lot to that as well, and we are responsible mainly for ourselves. right? We are responsible for ourselves. So we should that I'm not sure if we go as far as self-love. It's a new term that I was introduced to at Beth Tefillah by Lieber's daughter's friends. Right? Actually wasn't. It was the next year. I noticed from one year to the next. It was like self-care, and then the next year it was self-love. And I was like, wow, I don't know if I engage in self-love that much. But it's I think there is something to that, to being, not to being ensuring your own emotional health and doing what you need to do for that. And then this one is like intellectual, right? Intellectual health. It's interesting. I grew up in South Africa, as did Evelyn, and now living in America. There are definitely segments of society that are very aware of intellectual health, I'm going to call it, always learning, always questioning, being involved in debate, thinking. But it's not the majority. It's not, I think they're more sports fans than debate fans, not
Good
political.
point. Good point.
Those are sports. But Jewish culture and the focus on learning and discussing and Chavruta,
Thinking.
learning
And
is
thinking.
and thinking is yeah. I mean that's another great Rabbi Sachs quote. I don't have it here, but he said, the novelty of Judaism was not the idea of power, but the power of ideas. And that's our focus. And it's so important to always be reading, always be thinking, always be discussing. Having people to discuss your ideas with is what keeps us going. So, okay. Okay, let's go to the next one.
I was going to say something is missing, and now I see it.
Okay, good. Okay, I don't know if I might have, sometimes I think I might have, you could put some other levels into our existence here, but I think these are the basic ones. Okay, Liba, you want to read this one?
The Jewish mission is a moral one, to teach the ways of God through both practice and words. This defines our spiritual life. We must ensure that we, individually and as a community, have the means and ability to live a fully functioning spiritual life. Source 1, Proverbs 3:18. It, the Torah, is a tree of life to those who grasp it, and whoever holds on to it is praiseworthy.
Right. So again, the language is important, right? Eitz Chaim he. It's a tree of life. It's a life nurturing thing. Okay. On Liba.
Oh, okay. Source 2, Deuteronomy 30:11-19. Moses to the Israelites. Surely this mitzvah which I enjoin upon you this day is not too baffling for you, nor is it beyond reach. I call heaven and earth as witness this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life so that you and your offspring will live.
Okay, and obviously, well, he might be speaking about all levels of life, but in the context, it's really about the way of life that he's instructing the Jewish people. And he's saying, this Torah is a way of life that will ensure you life, that will give you life. Whereas, leaving it and deserting it is a way to death.
Source 3, Pirkei Avos. One who has acquired words of Torah has acquired for himself the life of the world to come.
Okay, so it's eternity. It's not just for this world. it's for the next world as well, because these are eternal values. They never disappear. These are things that are not temporal. Okay, and I love this story.
The sages, Talmud Brachos 61b, the sages taught one time after the Bar Kokhba rebellion, the evil empire of Rome decreed that Israel may not engage in the study and practice of Torah. Pappos ben Yehuda came and found Rabbi Akiva, who was convening assemblies in public and engaging in Torah study. Pappos said to him, Akiva, are you not afraid of the empire? Rabbi Akiva answered him, I will relate a parable. To what can this be compared? It is like a fox walking along a riverbank when he sees fish gathering and fleeing from place to place. The fox said to them, From where are you fleeing? From what are you fleeing? They said to him, We are fleeing from the nets that people cast upon us. He said to them, Do you wish to come up onto dry land, and we will reside together just as my ancestors resided with your ancestors? The fish said to him, You are the one of whom they say he is the cleverest of animals. You are not clever. You are a fool. If we are afraid in the water, our natural habitat, which gives us life, then in a habitat that causes our death, all the more so. The moral is, so too, we Jews, now that we sit and engage in Torah study, about which it is written, for that is your life and the length of your days, we fear the empire to this extent. If we proceed to sit idle from its study, as its abandonment is the habitat that causes our death, all the more so will we fear the empire. That was a lot, but I get it.
Did well, right? Good, right? So, Kehem Chayenu, this is our life, right? So to, even if there are threats against it, even if there are reasons where one has to make sacrifices for it, that's what we have to do. Okay. What do you see as the major challenges in Jewish spiritual life today?
Modern life.
Okay.
Modern life is not spiritual.
Focus on mundane and material things.
I would say
Mhm.
that it's just mundane distractions, materialism.
Especially with the young generation.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're kept so busy that I don't think they realize that, wait, there's a whole world that they're
Yep.
missing, which takes a lot of effort, actually. Actually, I'm thinking that now. With the amount of instant gratification that we have given our children, it takes time to develop spiritual gratification, right? It's something you need to work hard on. It's something that, right, it's not immediate. And that work is like, what? Why would I do that when I can just, go on my phone and be entertained immediately? Okay. Difficult question, but let's discuss it. Can one be spiritually alive without being observant? And similarly, can one be observant without being spiritually alive?
I would say yes to
Yes,
both.
and yes.
Yes and yes.
You can go through the rote motions and not have it mean much, and you can be very spiritual without being very observant.
Okay. But I'm going to say it's better to be both.
Of course, you're going to say that. We understand. Oh.
What are the challenges of transmitting a vibrant spiritual life to one's children?
It can be answered in one word, huge. And you know what? It depends on the children. I mean, I have one daughter who's very, very spiritual, and one who's quite observant who's not at all spiritual.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's
Okay,
not
well,
not
you
at
can-
all spiritual.
you can discuss this with them. Good Friday night discussion, maybe.
Well, she doesn't talk about things. That's the other thing.
Okay.
She's not open.
Integration. What does this debate mean to you as a core value? When can it be applied? What are the challenges you will face? How can you overcome them?
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a high standard. It's a very high standard, I think.
But
And
you
it's
know,
so
it's
complex.
interesting.
It's so
You know,
complex.
many times, actually, I think I don't know about many, but I can think of at least 2 times when Moses says to the people, "This is not beyond your reach. I'm not asking you to go beyond what you can reach. This is in you." Um, so I do think about that when you say things like that. And I myself, I struggle with some of these things, to be always acknowledging and always aware of, our lives are hectic, and we move fast, and things, we don't have time to appreciate and to be cognizant of the value of life and the importance of life, and to take care of life. Yeah. I mean, we would think, do not murder. I think this is a great example, right? So you used to look at do not murder and think, yeah, okay, I'm not murdering, you know?
So in
But
some ways, you're talking about the spirit of human beings. I mean, we talk about spirituality. So do not murder. We think of killing a body, but we're also talking about all the things in life that kill the spirit.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
and it's so applicable to ourselves. Okay, Violetta, what is your burning question as we wrap up?
Thank you so much. Okay. So it has to do with with Israel and the current situation with basically with terrorist prisoners, that when soldiers capture terrorists and they put them in jail and they treat them with a lot of respect, and then it must cost Israel a fortune to feed them and look after,
Yes.
and then the security. Okay. So many of these terrorists have killed, like Sinwar. Okay.
Yes, and was a perfect example.
Okay. So in all that it has been happening, I've been very angry at the prisoners exchange for one life or one coffin, and it seems so unfair negotiating with the devil. So I came up with the idea that, okay, so if there were no prisoners in jail with whom we would have to, they're not negotiating,
Exchange.
yes, coin, let's say, then they wouldn't kidnap, right? They wouldn't kidnap, because kidnapping people is precisely in order to have them freed. So okay, so my idea is that Israeli soldiers is also in the Torah, kill them. Somebody has killed 7 people. Somebody went to a nightclub, and so all of these murderers are in prison, enjoying themselves and even getting an education and studying and having, I don't know exactly,
Right.
but
There is
Israel
a movement. So Violetta, there is a movement there's no death sentence in Israel.
There you go.
And but now there's a movement to no, Eichmann was killed. I don't know if that
Yes,
has
he
been
was.
an exception to the rule.
Robert Bergman, I would dare to say there is a death sentence, and I'll tell you what the death sentence is. When our soldiers go and free those hostages, when they die in Gaza defending Israel, that is a death sentence for them. Why do we have to lose our best of the cream of soldiers? If there were no hostages, Israel could end with Hamas. But because of this bargaining chip, that's the word I was looking for, binary chip, we are stuck. And we are negotiating with the devil.
It's a terrible situation.
Lama
You know
lo
what? If Violetta,
kill them.
go to Israel become a politician. I think
I'm
not sure of anyone. I don't know of anyone as I think you will get a lot of support. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't have, if you.
But what are your thoughts about my thinking?
I'll
what
give
I
you
need
my
to
vote.
know.
I mean, I do think you have to be careful with just soldiers killing people, because you need to have a system of justice, otherwise things do break down. But yeah, if there would be a referendum in Israel, I would vote for the death sentence for terrorists. Yeah. I'm not
That's it's a relief for me to hear that, because we know exactly what their intentions are. And then when you free them, how many prisoners did we free?
Oh, you don't. Too
Oh,
painful.
God.
Too painful. Exactly.
It's a really terrible, terrible situation. I think we're all on the same page, which is pretty stunning because that's rare. It is really terrible.
Okay, Renee, last any comments, thoughts that you want to share with us?
Oh my goodness, this is taking me. First of all, thank you. I would like to return. This is reminding me. I went to yeshiva in New York City. It was Soloveitchik Yeshiva, and then I went to public school. But I came back.
You went to Stone College? Where did you go?
No, I went. So I went first as a child. I went to a nursery school for children of survivors in Manhattan, in Washington Heights. But I went to Soloveitchik Yeshiva.
Oh, it's called Soloveitchik?
It used to be Rabbi Moses Soloveitchik Yeshiva, right near YU, where the rabbinical school is in Upper Manhattan. But then I went for my social work to the Wurzweiler School of Social Work, and Rabbi Norman Linzer and another rabbi, this session reminded me of my ethics class.
Oh, yeah?
We had I called it a shiur, but it's very Talmudic. So I really feel like I've returned to what I was raised in. And the other thing I say is we're a people that we're unusual. We're a small minority in this world, but we have all these values and ideas that we debate and take into such consideration before we take an action. And yet we're castigated, and worse, we're hated, we're divided, but we still keep this. This is so intrinsic and ancient and incredible. So I have a lot of thoughts about all the what ifs and the scenarios. So thank you. And I concur with the consensus about the very not lovely terrorists, because they're not going to stop. This is what they've
very difficult situation, right?
But thank you. I'm going to go back just to tell you in one more comment. One of my favorite books was the Rev Soloveitchik, The Lonely Man of Faith. And when I was in social work school, Evelyn, can you believe this? I used it to guide my thinking. He has this Adam 1, Adam 2 typology. That's all I'll say. But I feel now like after tonight, I'm going to go back to this Lonely Man of Faith and some of my, and maybe some Rashi. So that's all.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful class, Rabbi Nitzan.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Are we on next week?
I might not be because I'm leaving the next day for Israel.
Uh-huh.
Yay.
It will depend where. Yes,
You're going to Israel for Pesach?
I am, and I'm
Oh, it's
going.
an experience being in Israel on Pesach. I've been there. Whoa.
Wonderful. I'm going a little early to get our rental ready. So, but I'm leaving on Wednesday. So if I'm like organized, I can log in. But so far, I'm not very organized. But I'm going to try to be.
Okay, great.
That's where I'm at.
Nesiya tova.
Tודה רבה.
Yes.
תודה רבה. חג חג שמח.
Okay, everyone. Enjoy life, nurture life.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank
Nurture
you.
those around you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Laila
Thank you.
tov, everybody.
Laila tov. Thank you.
Laila tov. Shalom, shalom.